Hi, my name's Donald. I assume you've just watched part one of this series. I hope you found it informative. Now moving on to part two. Now that we've got all those threads through the reed, it's time to move half of them into the heddles part of the reed. Now maybe you can kind of understand now why we call it a rigid Heddle loom. It's all one piece. And with that being said, let's proceed to the video. Okay, now that we've got all these threads down here run, they're all through the reed, through the slots of the reed. We need to transfer some of those to the holes. But before doing that, we need to roll all this thread back, need to roll up this thread onto the warp beam. It's tied to it, so we're going to advance it, and I'm holding some tension on all these threads with a sandbag or a bean bag. That's the way I like to do it. It works well for me. And turning the receiving roll, the sandbag is creating tension. So we're going to start rolling it on right there. It's going to roll on around there. But the next thing we got to do is keep it from tangling up on here. And we're going to do that by adding some brown paper sack material. I've cut the brown paper sacks up and I've cut them to the width of the loom here, about 15 inches wide. So we're going to insert one edge onto where it's going to start rolling onto that receiving roll, and then continue to feed that roll on there. This will keep the threads from tangling as it rolls on and keep nice even tension on everything. Again, the bean bag is holding the tension on things. So as I get close to the edge of the table now, I'm going to have to move my bean bag back, keeping tension on if I possibly can. I want to keep the tension going. I want to check and make sure that all the threads are under even temperature, even tension. So I'm just kind of stretching it out there. Okay, I'm back to the roller. We're going to continue rolling all these threads up, keeping them separated with the paper. You can use various things other than the paper. I've seen tar paper used. I don't like to use the tar paper because I think it transfers, but shelf paper, non-sticky shelf paper works good. But the paper bags are probably as cheap and usable and replaceable as anything you can do. Okay, it's time now. I'm cutting the ends of those loops. Remember, we looped everything over the warp peg back there, but we haven't cut them yet. So I'm just now cutting them. I'm going to comb them out because we're now to near the end. And in some cases, I may have put the loop on one direction, or sometimes maybe reversed it, and it can cause a slight tangle. It's not a real big deal, but it's nice to keep them as straight as possible. So I'm just kind of combing it out here with a very coarse hair comb. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Let's try to wind it up as snugly as we can. Maybe I could have trimmed more of this away, but that's Okay. I don't think I can get too much more there. I've got that comb. I'm going to do a little more combing. And it's kind of useless. Let's try to get just a little bit more wound on the roller. I'm a little bit longer here than I really want to be. So I'm by hand holding tension on and winding this last little bit. I want about 8 or 10 inches. I don't want to, in trying to put these threads through the holes, I don't want to lose any of them, but in order to do this, we need to tie that reed back up again so it's kind of secure. Now I'm pulling them all out and dropping all the threads to the bottom of the reed. There we go. Now we're going to pick the threads up. I'm starting on one side and get those 2 threads that's in that slot. I'm going to drag one out, reach through the hole, and pick up the one that I drug out. Now I'm going to pick up 2 more. That's in those 2 are in the same slot. I'm going to pull one of those out of the slot, reach through the hole to the, in this case, as we're looking at it, I'm pulling the one to the left, going through the hole to the left, and dragging that thread back into it. So now I've got 2 threads through slots and 2 through holes. Pick the next 2 of the slot, drag one of them out. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get that video camera aimed just right, but I'm reaching through now to get the thread that I pulled out of the slot and bringing it through the hole. You'll be able to see that better here in just a moment. Okay, I'm taking one thread I pulled out. I'm reaching through the hole with the heddle hook, catching it on the other side and dragging it through. That should be about 4 I've done. 4 of each. So I've done 4 out of the slot and into the hole, making a total of 8 threads. And I'm laying those off to the side, grabbing 2 more. Okay, now I'm going to go speed this up until I'm not boring you. I sped it up a little bit. Grab drag it one thread out of the slot and drag it into the hole. Out of the slot and into the hole. Now that we've completed this all the way over, this is the last one that I'm doing. Now we're going to have to tie all these onto the rod for at the front of the loom. So what I'm doing is start in the center and pull 4 to the right of the center and 4 to the left of the center. And you'll be able to see this a little bit better here in just a moment. And as you do that, wrap 4 of them around the right. And so I'm looking at my right side of all the threads. The other 4 to the left side, and tie it in a knot over the top. You'll be able to adjust the tension on all these pretty easily with this type of a knot. Here's a better explanation. Take 4, or you can do 6 or whatever you feel comfortable with, but I like to do, I'm on a 10 dent reed right now, and I'm finding that 8 threads or 4 up and 4 bottoms working good. So reach under, pull these up on the opposite side, slide them together, and tie the knot. And then you can go back to any of these knots and pulling it forward a little bit, like right there, pull it forward. You can tighten it and tighten your knot, and it will stay pretty good. That's part 2. Stay tuned for part 3. Thank you.